Welcome to the Sweat Elite podcast. So welcome back if you're a regular listener. It's Luke and Matt with another episode of Training Talk. The World Athletics Championships started 4 days ago. Plenty of action. Luke, how have you enjoyed watching so far?
Yeah, it's actually been awesome. I've really enjoyed it. Yeah, we were just talking kind of before we got started, talking obviously about what the 1500 just happened, Cole Hocker getting DQ'd and then everything with Jakob. But then I feel like the marathon, you know, I'm heavily biased and so I watched both of them. But the women's one, and then obviously because of course I'm Irish, but I'm also American. Um, and so I was watching closely for the top Americans. And like the women's was first, obviously, Saturday night here in the US, Sunday morning in Japan. And yeah, we were just talking about Susanna Sullivan, the top
Mm.
American. She came fourth overall. She was leading the race for like 30K or something by like loads and just man, it was so impressive. It was so cool. Like I was watching like every step of the way and just like I was telling you off air that the way the camera feed was and the way the course is, it's like the camera would be close in on the leader, Susanna, and then you could see the next lead pack behind her, and you couldn't tell how close it was because of because of the camera angle. And then, I was like, "Ah, damn, are they closing in?" And it was just a massive pack of
Yeah.
East Africans, right? So Susanna Sullivan, this white school teacher from America, just crushing it, not even a fully pro runner. And then this group of like killers, East Africans, just like hunting behind them. And I was like, oh, damn, are they closing? But then it would do like a drone view. And I was like, oh, never mind. She is like way ahead. And she was like so far ahead for so long. And I don't know what it is. Like most experienced runners will hear what I'm about to say and just think like, oh, you're so stupid to think that. But whenever I see someone race like that, I just find it so impressive when they're just like, screw the pack, screw everyone else. I'm just here to run my race and I'm just gonna absolutely get after it. And if I fall apart, I fall apart. But if I don't, then I'm gonna do something special. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you could tell that was exactly what was going through her mind. She never looked behind her, not one time either. Like until she was caught at like 30K or whatever it was. That whole time, the only thing she looked at was her watch. It was like she was in a time trial, just out in the park by herself. Just kept looking at her watch every now and again. Okay, that pace is grand, grand. Keep going. And just motoring along like it was so impressive. And then obviously she did get caught by uh uh that chick. She has the world record now again, right? The 211 Asafana or Asfa, what's her name again?
Yes. Asefa to
Asefa,
get
sorry.
Asefa from Ethiopia. Yeah. And obviously
Yeah.
Paris
And
Chepchirchir
her world
overtaking the
record
world.
is the world record again, right? Because of the 209 chick getting popped. Is that
Well,
right?
I've heard we should know this. We should have checked this before we recorded, but I have a feeling that 209 is still standing because I could be
Oh,
wrong, but
really?
I think because she got popped way after the world record.
There's no way. No way. Are you sure? Are you sure?
You check that
You know what?
before I talk more about it.
Let's
Yeah.
Google it. Yeah. World
Susanna
record.
Sullivan, anyway, she held on for fourth in 2:28.17. Awesome result with Paris Chepchirchir winning in 2:24.43 in brutal conditions in Tokyo. I think they finished at around 29 degrees Celsius and 85% humidity, which, yeah, that's going to slow anyone down by at least six,
Wild.
7 minutes. So
Yeah.
2:24 is
Yeah.
that's a pretty quick time for a championship race win. Tick that Asefa second, 2:24.45, only 2 seconds. And then Julia Patinane from Uruguay, 2:27.23. I believe it was a second marathon, and I think it was maybe very close to a personal best as well. So huge result
Yeah.
from Julia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Other
That was
notable
really impressive
athletes.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Uruguayan chick, that was crazy impressive too. I think that's right. I think that's again, I think I heard a statistic. This might be right. Someone maybe might correct me in comments or to your DMs or whatever. But I think that's Uruguay's like first ever world's medal or something like that.
From Uruguay.
Something. Yeah. It was
Wouldn't be
something crazy
surprised.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Really big deal. That was really impressive by her too. But yeah, like to go back to the Susanna Sullivan, why that was so impressive is, I was telling you, she got that's still a world record from what everything I could find on Google, by the way, in that quick search.
209, 50,
Two
56 for Chepton Gettys.
at
Yeah.
Chicago.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's still the world record, which is so
It's
stupid.
it's such a bizarre thing to happen when someone runs a world record or someone runs an incredibly quick time and they get busted 6, 12, however much time into the future. Because they didn't get busted at the time, their result still stands. It's like it's ridiculous.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But anyway,
Sefa, the lady that came second, the reason why that came up is lady that came second, she's run 2:11:53. And I think a lot of people
which
think
was
that's
the
now the
world
world
record.
record. It was the world record before Chepton Gettys. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So very impressive by all of them. But no, to go back to Susanna Sullivan, like, yeah, she ran top American at Chicago, same Chicago. Um, and she got like a contract, I think, at that from I think she's Brooks, but she was then and still is to this day, from everything I heard from the commentators and from Google, a full-time school teacher, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's
That's
phenomenal.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. So that's really impressive too. And then, yeah, like she soloed the first 25 to 30K, just soloed it. She came in at half at like, I'm pretty sure it was 113 flat, 226 flat pace, and she finished 228 low. So she didn't exactly explode or implode, rather. She still hung on really well, and especially considering she ran that whole first 25 odd K solo and it was 80 degrees and rising. She still ran, but it just goes to show, and I think that'll take me to my next point about the men's race and Clayton Young. Like, it's just when you get to that level, especially in championship racing, those East Africans, I know it wasn't East Africans in the men's race, but for the most part, the East Africans or the people that are like that, that have that, they just have that killer top end speed where they can stay together in a pack for so long, and it can be a slow race considering their PBs or whatever, and then they just know how to turn it on in the
Mm.
last 10 or certainly 5K, and people like Susanna Sullivan or Clayton Young or other bit, you just can't compete with that.
No.
It's mental. It's mental. And that's what happened at the finish. The the Kenyan chick that won it and the Ethiopian chick, like as soon as they got on the track, it was just they were just flat out, just flying. And I was like, how are they still going so fast? Like a sprint finish. Like it's just mental.
Mm.
It's just different levels, different levels. But yeah, that's kind of what happened in the men's race because obviously I was watching, like I've said a million times in this podcast, like Clayton Young is not only my favorite runner, but he's actually probably been, since I started watching his YouTube, but in the last year or so, he's probably my favorite like athlete across
Yeah.
all sports. I just love him. He's great. And he did the opposite of Susanna Sullivan. He stuck in tight into the lead pack and just never faded. He just stuck with them the whole way. People would like CJ Albertson of the US. He jumped in the lead for a bit, tried doing his usual kind of madman racing tactics, and then he died off a bit. And then some other people fell off the pack, and Clayton Young just stayed in the pack the whole way until like I think 39K. And then the same thing happened. He didn't even fade. Just the rest of those lads that have that crazy top end speed, they just boom, 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 just edged their way. The pack broke apart. It became a pack of like five, and then it became a pack of three. The German, the Italian, and the Tanzanian, and then it became the Tanzanian and the German when they got on the track. And the German, what's his name? You've done some videos, some Sweat Elite videos with him. What's his name again?
Amanel Petros, he has been a feature on the Sweat Elite YouTube channel quite a few times. I think at least 3 times.
Yeah.
Angus, Tejan, videographer, he's worked with him quite a lot and gets along with him very well. Yeah, he looked like he had it won until about 5 meters to the end when he ended up
Yeah,
finishing in the exact same time. One of the most exciting sprint finishes I've ever seen in a marathon. But he got dipped on the
yeah.
line by Felix Simbu from Tanzania, both running 209.48. And then Ilias Oani from Italy in 209.53 was third, only 5 seconds back. And Clayton Young held it together pretty well to finish in ninth in 210.43. So just less than a minute off the winners and or the winner, sorry, well, winners, they both ran the same time. But I don't know if you saw Clayton Young's post-race interviews, but he was pretty disappointed about not being closer to the front. But he did get a little bit unlucky with a fall early on in the race, around 15K. I saw that he came down and lost, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 seconds, and obviously a bit of a shock too to come down and hit the deck. And looks like his hand might have had a bit of a bit of grazing on the road. So yeah, I think he did really well. Another top 10 for Clayton Young. I think that was an awesome result.
I think so too. Yeah, and I saw he doesn't think the fall hurt his time. Um, he's like, if I'm being honest, like I don't think the fall really did anything negative in terms of my race. Um, and you never know. Like, who knows is the answer to that. Like, maybe it did, maybe it didn't. You just don't know. But obviously, did great to come back and bounce back and stay locked in and everything. And it's just, man, it's the same thing though. It's so hard for America. Like, honestly, I think Connor Mance would have medaled had he shown up. I do. I really do think he would have medaled. He would have come really damn close anyway. Um, so it would have been cool to see him there. But obviously he's going for the American record at Chicago, so his priorities are different. But it was just the same thing. Like Clayton, I think, came in at like 205, sorry, 205, 105, like low or something like that at halfway, and then finished 210 mid or 210 high or whatever. And so he didn't fade either. It's kind of the
Mm.
same thing. It was just he was with them until he wasn't. And it's just that some of these athletes, the very top marathoners, they just have that crazy top end speed that just it's really hard for a runner, like for a lot of American runners, to really catch that. And I think Connor Mance is the first in a long time to maybe get there. So it really would have been interesting to see him there, to
Mm.
see if he would have kept with them, if he could have kicked on, where he would have kicked on. Yeah, it would have been cool to see him there for sure.
Pretty impressive that Clayton Young's within a minute of two guys that have run 204 in, fast races. The two guys, Amanal Petros, both the first and second place runners, they're both 204 guys. So,
Yeah.
very good signs that Clayton Young's able to run 2.6 or faster. I think we all know that
Definitely.
given, his time in Boston was 2.7 and yeah, but looking forward to seeing what both him and obviously we've got Conor Mantz, as you mentioned, coming up in 3.5 weeks, 2.5 weeks now, sorry, 3.5 weeks at Chicago,
Yeah.
going after that American record. I think the world record, there's a world record attempt by is it John, the Kenyan runner in Chicago? I think someone's going for the world record. Did you hear about that?
Oh, I
No.
totally missed this.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, John Career, who's a
really?
202 high runner. Yeah, eighth fastest all time. He announced earlier in the year, apparently. I missed it, obviously, when I was taking some time out. He's going for the world record in Chicago, and from what I've understood, it's still game on because Clayton Young mentioned it in his post-race interview yesterday that he'll be there on the lead on the car that goes ahead of the athletes at Chicago Marathon. He'll be helping with the commentating. And he said that he'll be
Oh,
watching
nice.
for Clayton, obviously Connor going for the American record and John Career going for the world record. So
Oh, wow.
yeah. Mm.
Well, hopefully they get the day for it, because if they get
Yeah.
the day for it, then I get the day for something as well. Then.
Yeah. We'll get on to your preparation soon, but a little bit more on the world champs. What do you think about Jakob dropping out in the heats of the 1500? He
Yeah,
posted some awesome content in the lead up on Instagram. I thought he was going to come out all guns blazing, but wasn't meant to be.
See, I'm the opposite. I've been following his content closely, and we talked about this on a warm up with a bunch of lads that are also fans of his. And I was saying, I made the point like, hey, I've been watching his stuff, and I'm sure he does. Obviously, he doesn't post all his workouts, but from what I've seen, it just seems like he really is not ready. And and they were like, oh well, I don't know, I'm sure he probably is, whatever. And I was like, it just seems so close to his injury. He pulled out of that Diamond League. Like, it just all signs seemed a bit like it was a bit rushed. And then of course, like, unfortunately, because I am a fan of his, unfortunately, like, I was right. It seemed very rushed. He seemed very uncomfortable um from the gun. Like, I know he always does that thing that he does where the lead pack, the whole pack rather, goes, and he goes way behind them and then eases in. But even when he was easing in, he just looked very uncomfortable. And then he obviously tried to kick on like he normally does, and just, yeah, there was just no gas there. And like, I don't think it's any more complicated than it's just too close to his injury. He just hasn't
Mm.
had time to bounce back. And because it was a world's championship as opposed to a Diamond League or a Grand Slam track or something else, he probably felt like, I have to do this, Worlds and the Olympics, that's my bread and butter. I have to do it, whether I'm ready or not. Which I respect. You got to respect that. He did make a post, and I can't remember the exact expression of the post, but the expression was something like, you got to show up and try, was basically his message. Obviously he's disappointed, but he's happy that you just have to. You have to show up and try. And he did, and he didn't have it. And
Mm.
yeah, happens. He's a human.
He said, I gave it my best today. It just wasn't enough. I knew this could happen, but giving up isn't in my nature. I will be back. That's his
Yeah,
post after the heats.
yeah,
86,000 likes. He did say in a post-race interview that he reckons he's a much better shot on the 5K, which I thought was an interesting thing to say. I would have thought that if you're coming back from injury, you've got a well, I was about to say he's probably got a stronger background with 1500. It's probably about equal. But if you're lacking that speed endurance to be able to finish off a 1500 well, I don't know. I would have thought that he's probably going to struggle even more in the 5,000 towards the end of a wind up, a slow start, a fast finish. But I could be wrong. We'll see. You can't ever
yeah,
doubt someone as good as Jakob. I could be completely wrong, but I just thought
yeah.
that was almost the opposite of what I
No,
would
I'm
thought. If
with
you're going to
you.
struggle in the
Yeah,
1500, I think your 5,000's in even more trouble. But we'll see.
yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
with you. I'm with you. Yeah.
Hmm.
When is that? Do you know when that is?
The heats start in a couple of days, I think. I think there's a few
Okay.
days in between them,
So,
but yeah, the 1500 still. Obviously, the semis were last night. Cole Hocker was DQ'd. Let's go through that quickly. We watched the replay just before we hit record. You were very
yeah,
quick to make the decision that you thought that was a good call. I wasn't so sure, but then again, I'm
yeah,
not a
yeah.
judge. I've never really, and even though I've watched a lot of 800 and 1500 races, I haven't seen all that many people DQ'd for jostling before. It's not a common thing to get disqualified for, but
No.
you thought it was a pretty fair call.
Yeah, it's funny for those listening. We didn't want to comment on it on the podcast without watching it, so we pulled it up on YouTube real quick. It's a 1500 meter, so it's quick. But Matt fast forwarded, so he saw it before me, and we were like in real time watching it. And Matt's like, "Oh, I don't know, that seems harsh." And then a couple seconds later, I get to it, and I immediately my reaction's totally off. It's like, "Oh yeah, that's a DQ. You're out of there." Um, so in my mind, when you watch it in slow motion, it doesn't look that bad. But when I watched it in real time, when I think of like jostling and unfair, like what the language is, physical contact to gain an unfair advantage or to hinder another runner or whatever, right? It's some language like that. He's kind of boxed in with what's his name, Farkin.
Yeah, Robert Farkan from Germany.
Yeah, and he's next to him, and it's like he wants to get inside in between him, and he can't. Him being Cole Hocker, and he can't. So instead of just pushing his body through, he lifts his arm up in a really weird, unnatural way, and kind of uses his elbow to get over Farkin's chest and almost propel off him. It just looks so unnatural to me that I feel like, yeah, that's that's jostling to me because it's so unnatural. Versus if you're just running and you bump next to someone, like perfect example, it's not a track race. It's weird, but it happened. and it's the same thing like the women's Olympic final in sorry, women's Olympic marathon when Safan Hassan and wasn't it the same? Wasn't it Asefa? Was it Asefa?
I
No.
think so, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. And they came so close in the last like 100 meters or 150 meters, and they came so close, and you could tell Asefa was trying to block the tangent, but then his Safan Hassan was like, "Nope, I'm just going to keep running," and she kept running, and it was they bumped and they collided, but it was all natural. It was just a natural collision. There was no jostling. There was no unnatural movement. They both tried to get to the tangent, and Savannah San got there first. And so they just collided a little bit. That to me is natural, normal. If it happened on a track, grand. Versus this, just moving your elbow up and pushing off. Like, I think it was the unnatural way he did it. But
Mhm.
yeah, we'll probably see more about it in the coming days. I don't know if the World Athletics people that made that call, if they'll comment on it or something. It'd be interesting to see though.
Yeah, the only reason why I thought it was a little bit harsh is because it didn't seem like there was anything else he could do. He was completely stuck. He was at the outside of lane one, inside of lane two, like right on the line. Farkon was right in front of him. Another athlete was just to the left of him. And it was just a completely closed hole. Like there's nothing I think the only way for him to get, and there's only 70 meters to go in the race. So he's only got 10 seconds, 50, 12 seconds to get to the less to get, to the finish. And in order for him to get to the finish and qualify, because he was stuck in a position where he wasn't in the qualifying five or however many were qualifying, he would have had to have gone outside to like lane three or four. And he didn't have time to do
Which is
that. And
also
there was also someone on his right. And so I just thought, what more could he have possibly done to qualify? But I do completely agree with you that the it was very aggressive, move to lean his shoulder out and pull basically push Farkin backwards. But I looked at it a couple of times and I thought Farkin's been reinstated to the final, and it looked like his momentum was going backwards. I'm not sure if he was going to qualify otherwise. I think he got a little bit fortunate there because
yeah. No, I agree with that.
Farkin was trending backwards, and because of the Jostling
Yeah,
situation, he's been put through to the final. So yeah,
yeah. No, yeah, I agree with you. Certainly, he didn't look great. He was definitely fading. But I think to answer your question, I think the commentator kind of answered it. Like, what's he supposed to do? Where is he supposed to go? That's his own fault
yeah.
for getting in that position. And the commentator kept saying that before it even happened. I can't remember her name. She's really good, really knowledgeable American woman. I'll get her name later. But she called it. She was like, I don't like Cole Hocker's positioning. I don't like where he's at. This isn't a good spot. He needs to get out of there. And then the jostling thing happened. It was really weird how she called it. And so I think she would say the same thing. She would be like, yeah, I see your point, but it's his own fault for
Mm.
getting stuck there. And that's track racing, right? You're supposed to not get stuck, not get boxed in, not, all these things. And so, yeah, tough one though. Him
Yeah.
and Jakob gone is that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. Makes it a lot easier for Josh Kerr to shoot
A
for
lot
another
easier.
world champs win. And obviously Jake Whiteman's still there, who is a world
I
champs.
was just about to say Jake Wyman looks good again. Yeah. He
Mm.
looks good again. He kind of, you know, I don't want to say fell off, like that's disrespectful, but after his world championship win, I feel like we didn't really hear a whole lot of him
He
since
was
then.
injured. He's been injured on and off since his world champs win
Yeah,
in 2022, I think it was. 2021.
around there.
2022. Yeah. And he's struggled to find consistency in his training. He's come back and run some pretty quick times and especially over the 800. But I think he's found some consistency this year. But the man to beat, I think, is actually Laros from Netherlands. He's been
Yeah,
he's been firing all
dude,
year. Yeah.
he's a beast. Yeah, he's a beast. He's a kid as well, right? What age is he?
Laros, let's see. I know he's quite young still.
He's really young.
Um,
Probably was
2005.
younger than Jakob.
Yeah, he's 20. Yeah,
Yeah,
Niels Laros.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah. He looks good.
the other awesome win overnight, Geordie Beamish. What a victory that was to take
I'm
down the
getting
Moroccan
I'm getting
master.
kicked in the face to to winning a gold.
Yeah. Incredible season he's had too, because, from my understanding, he spent a bit of time, injured through the summer not long ago. And I think he's only been back running for a couple of months. He shared all of his on his own podcast over at the Coffee Club, and I've listened to bits and pieces of it, but he hasn't been able to train consistently through the summer. So to come out and be a world champion and to beat a an overwhelming favorite, that was a huge win. So I woke up this
Yeah.
morning and saw the replay, and yeah, he always finishes so fast. He's an awesome racer. Yeah,
Yeah, he is. He is. He's very entertaining. Yeah.
yeah.
No, that was awesome. That was really good for him.
Mm.
It's just funny
Plenty
seeing
of
him get that win only like 24 hours before. Like, there's just memes of him absolutely everywhere of getting stepped on, you know?
yeah, yeah.
It's just so weird. It's like he's kind of like people are inadvertently like making fun of him. Even people that don't even know him. It was like such a memeable thing, that picture. And then he turns around and is like, "Oh, well, I'm just gonna go win a gold real quick and say," do you know what I mean? It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah, that was awesome.
I think people that followed him closely leading in and his season, I don't think too many people were backing him to win that. To medal, maybe, but I think to win, yeah, that's a huge deal.
Yeah, very big deal.
Plenty more action to come in the World Athletics Champs through the week, and we'll obviously talk more about it next week. I mean, we didn't talk too much. I don't know if you watched. Sorry, I completely missed the 10,000. Do you see Jimmy Gressier get up for the win? That was a bit earlier on in the week, but
I did see, yeah, I didn't
yeah,
watch the whole race. I just saw bits of the finish and Jimmy Gressier getting the win, which is, yeah, that's awesome because he's again really entertaining. I love watching him. He's an entertainer for sure. That was I feel you correct me if I'm wrong. I don't keep, but I feel like that was against the run of play too, right? He wasn't up there as one of the favorites, or am I wrong?
he definitely wasn't one of the favorites to win. No. I mean, he's always up there. He's always, fourth, fifth, sixth,
Yeah,
seventh at these diamond leagues. But to outkick
yeah,
Yomif Kajelcha and to take down even, Solomon Barrega, who was in sixth, there's Nico Young there in fifth. Like, yeah, Jimmy Gressier was far from the fastest runner going into the field and going into the race in terms of personal best and even season's best. So yeah, it was a very slow race. It was at least for World Championship standard and Olympic level standard, 28:55 for the win. But the interesting thing was there was so many guys in this field. Andreas Algren was third. Kipchoge, as I said, was he was in second. So many guys in this field are significantly faster than Gressier over 1500 and 5K. Yep, Gressier came through with the win in a slow tactical race. It's interesting when when it's slow and tactical, it's pretty much anyone's race. Typically, you do
yeah.
see the faster 1500-meter runners come through and win those races, but Gressier, yeah, he was on another level that day. Took the win in 28:55.77. Very close finish between the first few. Yeah, Nico Young in fifth, Grant Fisher in eighth, so Graham Blanks in 11th. But no, it was a good race to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. That's awesome as well for Swedish guy. What's his name?
Andreas Elgrim.
Yeah, he's really, man, the last what 2 years or so, he's just been, I feel like he's just always on form. He just never
Mm,
seems to have a bad race, no matter what distance it is as well.
yeah,
He just consistently turns it on.
yeah. He's broken a
Does
fair
really.
few. He's broken a fair few national records in the last year or two.
I
Yeah.
know, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then speaking of Swedish people consistently turning it on, see what's his name, Mondo or whatever, another
Another
world
one.
record.
Yep, 6:30 in the.
It's so stupid.
What do you
He just
mean?
keeps just like the whole thing. Like he knows what he's doing. He can probably jump like seven. You know, and he's just slowly moving the bar up bit by bit. Get that world record premium. Get all the bonuses. Get all the and just like I'll move it up a little bit this time. And it just seems so easy for him. Like it's just crazy. He's just on another level. It's just yeah. It's so funny. He just makes it look so easy. And then you see actual like um top pole vaulters like that are not him and you realize how hard it is then.
Mm,
But you watch him and you just think, man, this looks so easy. Like, I bet I could do this. Like, because he just makes it look so easy and so effortless. It's just, it's crazy. But yeah, of course, like everyone, it's like everyone knows and has known what he's been doing for a long time in terms of getting that world record premium every time, you know. That's awesome.
You reckon he's jumped closer to 7 meters in training and
Nah,
he's just
yeah, I was joking about the seven, but he's definitely jumped way higher. Then what did he get? What's the record now? 6'3".
6:30.
Yeah, 6:30, 6.30. And so, yeah, he's definitely jumped higher in training, and I think consistently too, because it just seems too easy. Like any time it goes up and up, like it just seems way too easy for him.
Hmm.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
we'll be back next week with the second half of the World Athletics Championships, but we thought we'd spend the second half of this podcast, because we're already 30 minutes in, answering some more questions, which we do about once a month. I put an Instagram story up asking if anyone wants to ask questions to Luke and I about things that we talk about in the podcast, to expand upon them or anything similar. And Luke, the first question I got through, I got a lot of questions come through, quite a few relating to your training, quite a few relating to where I'm at. But the first one from Flaglan Lockie, thanks for sending in, friend of the show. How the F does Luke fit in all his training while having a wife, a child, and a job as a lawyer?
Oh, I saw this actually. You sent it in. Um, Questions like that are always funny. I feel like,
I wondered the same thing, man, because not only do you do all these things, you also do a lot of like ice baths, saunas, gym. You are a very productive person when it comes to making the most of your days. You are training twice a day often. You're getting in, yeah. How often are you at the gym? At least 3 times a week. You're doing ice baths. How many times a week? At least three. And then on at your home, they're a bit of a drive away. Yeah, man. Like, there's probably not a very straightforward answer to this. I guess you just got a good routine going.
yeah, yeah, the straightforward answer. So I'll say this when I saw that, because people have asked me this before, how do you have time to do this, this, that, and the other. I'm not saying that, what's the name of this person? Flaglin, or okay. I'm not saying it's this person, but oftentimes I feel like that question comes from a place of like, it's not really like I'm interested to know. It's more like I'm pissed off that I can't, you know? And I feel like it often comes from there. And if it does come from a place like that, it goes to my answer, and my answer would be like, you make the time, you know? And you just do. Like if something's important, it doesn't matter if it's my daughter or my job or my running or my recovery or whatever. The answer is just always like, you make the time if it's important.
Hmm.
I guarantee you, if someone was to come up to me and ask me that question and actually genuinely ask it and be like, how do you do it? Because I can't do it. I guarantee you, if I sat down with them and went through their week by week, month by month, day by day, I would find the time for them to do it in their schedule. Moving things around, things. There's so many wasted hours in people's days. So many wasted hours. And it's the same people that like just sit there like that all day, like, man, how do you have the time? How do you let me just scroll here on Instagram for 2 hours while I just complain about how you have so much time? I guarantee you'd find the time. If it's important, whether it's prioritizing your running instead of, going out to the pub or whatever it is, like you will find the time. And I just do that. And it's just like, and then it's like anything else. Things become habit, it's like, what do they say? It takes something like 3 weeks to form a habit. I just do that with anything that's important. Like I give it 3 weeks, I incorporate it into my schedule, and then that's it. Now it's part of my schedule. Now it's a habit, and now those are the things that I prioritize instead of silly little things. And that all includes the other things that he mentioned, the things that are important, my job, and my kid and my social life, and like all those things. Those things are also important, and I prioritize them as well. And you just that's it. You just make the time. I feel it's very black and white like that. Yeah, I don't think it's very complicated.
Now, you work from home, is it 100% of the time? Or
Yeah, so that's the other thing. I work from home and remotely, so that means I'll have to travel sometimes. So like on Fri Thursday and Friday, I was in North Carolina, and then the week before I was like I think North Carolina as well, then Chicago. So I have to do things like that as well, and that makes it trickier. But then, the perfect example, um, when I was in Chicago, I had a workout. I was there on Monday and stayed the night and then leaving Tuesday after my client meeting. So on Monday, I found a place, I did some work, and then I found a place in Chicago that does saunas and ice baths, like I normally would at home. Found it, no problem. Did it, all good, like normal. Did my work, found a track the next morning, did my workout, did weights in the hotel, like I would back home, did my client meeting, and then went home. And everything was good. Work was good, the travel was fine, the recovery was there, the workout was there, all the things. Like I didn't sacrifice anything at all, you know? And it's because I wanted to. Those things are all important. Um, and so yeah, whether I'm traveling or at home, like, and I'm sure, yeah, look, when I'm at home and I'm not traveling, I'm sure that has a part to do with it too. Yeah, like if someone's like in an office job, 9 to 5, as opposed to me working from home, where I can and I'm in control of a lot of my schedule, where I can, decide, yeah, I can go here now and then do some work later in the evening. Obviously, that's a part of it, but yeah, again, these are things that I know I'm fortunate that I have that, but it's also I don't want to discount that I position myself in my life to have a job like that. And do you know what I mean? And so I don't mean this like facetiously at all. If you want to be in a position like that, you can position yourself like that. Go out and find a job like that. You know, if you're in a 9 to 5 job where you're pissed off and you're not happy that it's draining you and this, like, I truly believe this. Find another job. Like
simple as
seriously,
that?
I don't think it's that complicated. I really don't think it's that complicated. I know so many people would hear that and be like, it's not that easy. I genuinely think it is that easy if you want to. If you want to make it that easy, if you want to make things like that easy, like I truly think you can.
Hmm.
Um, it's only when you get into that mindset where you're like, "Oh, I can't because of this and I can't and can't, you start like thinking like that about all these little things in your life, you're gonna make everything else in your life so much harder. So yeah, I think that's a big part of it too.
All
Hope that
right,
answers your
next.
question.
Now, I must say that Lockie for sure. I've met Lockie a few times, been up with him for runs and whatnot. No, he's asking this more from a curiosity standpoint. It's not having a go at all. But
Oh no, yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
No, 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 I get that.
All
But
right,
yeah.
next question we had is Abel K. Jima asks, what two workouts would you do every week to stay fit if there are no races coming up anytime soon? So I guess,
Ooh,
in other words, what two workouts would you do every week on repeat, it sounds like, just to keep it
yeah.
simple, that would put you in a position where at any point you could switch into doing specific training for an event, I assume between 5K and the marathon? Good question.
I like that. That is a good question. Um, I have one in mind for sure that I would consistently do year round. Um, I call it a TIT workout, tempo interval tempo.
I like it.
So either depending on how fit you are and how hard you want to go, either at least two, if not three. So sandwich it, 2 or 3 mile tempo intervals, 2 or 3 mile tempo. And usually you do your 2 or 3 mile tempo at about threshold or you know what's the other LT whatever where it's just like it's a bit slower than threshold but it's faster than marathon pace.
LT1.
LT1, yeah. So either LT1 or LT2 is what the tempo should be, and then the intervals in between the tempos should be sub threshold. And it would usually be something like I usually like doing just like 3 by a mile, or maybe 6 by 800, or maybe 800, 800, 400, 400, 800, 800, where it's, 800, the 800s are sub T and the 400s are closer to like VO2. So you're like spinning the legs in between and then back to, I really like that workout. I think that helps for almost everything. That would be my one anyway, that I would consistently do if I had to.
It's a good one. I'll come up with two while you think of one more, because these are specifically the two. The two workouts, I thought about this. I read this question yesterday. The two workouts that I would do to stay fit for preparing for any distance, if you want to switch into a specific phase and have 10, 12 weeks notice, is the first one would be in a set of intervals where you're doing 3 by 3 minutes at about 10K effort, 3 by 2 minutes at about 5K effort, and then 3 by 1 minute at about mile effort. 1 minute rest between the intervals, 2 minutes rest in between the sets. You're starting off a little bit above threshold, you're working down to mile pace. So you're sort of going through the paces and ticking off, basically VO2 max starting at the low end and finishing at the high end. 3 by 3, 3 by 2, 3 by 1. You could also increase that and do a few more ones, maybe up to 5 or 6, but I think 3 of each is okay. The second workout that I would do would be a longer run with a progression in it. So I would do a simple one as a half marathon, so 21K, where you're doing 5K, pretty easy, around sort of steady, easy aerobic running, similar to your easy run. The next 5K, and you can also have a short break in between each 5K. You can have about a minute rest, or you can do it just straight through. The second 5K, sort of steady, not quite marathon effort, but not easy running, just in between. The third 5K around LT1 threshold, so close to marathon effort or right around marathon effort. Then the last 5K, threshold, LT2 threshold, so about half marathon effort. So again, you're going through the paces. And then 1K at the end, just cool down. You could do, a little bit more than that. You could do 10 minutes, make it 22K. But I think that ticks the box of being on your feet for, up to, for most people, that will probably take them 90 minutes plus. Many people listening to this podcast are around that 3 hour, marathon standard. So even more than 90 minutes. But I think that's a good one to go through the paces. And when you think about it, both those workouts, you're basically going through all the zones of easy running, steady running, LT1 threshold, LT2 threshold for the progression run, and then the interval session, 10K effort, 5K effort, mile effort. So I'm trying to basically, in 2 workouts, cover all aspects of the endurance or aerobic capacity spectrum, from easy running all the way through to high-end VO2 max. So I'm trying to cover a lot of boxes in 2 workouts, but they're the 2 that I would do. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I think my second one would be similar, not the same. It would be a long run, and I'd probably do, depending on fitness, at least, a couple miles warm up, and then 8 to 10 miles or 8 to 12 miles, depending on how fit you are, or how you're feeling at steady. And whatever steady pace is subjective and has to do with where you're at in your training and all that stuff. But you know what steady pace feels like. It's slower than marathon pace, but it's good bit faster than an easy run. So you're going steady, and then again you can take a break or get into it depending on how fit you are, and just do 3 to 4 miles, maybe 5 at max, pickup miles where you're getting like marathon pace / effort, and then a mile or 2 cool down. And then I think I really like that one. I think that would cover then everything. You're getting the steady and marathon pace, long run endurance, working the ligaments like with the long run and everything else in a good way. And then the other tempo, interval tempo, is covering threshold, sub threshold, and even VO2 max if you're ripping the 400s in the middle, like I said. I think that I'd be happy. I'd be very happy out if someone told me, the more I think about it, if someone told me, is it the only 2 workouts you can do for the rest of your life, in running? I think if I was given that option, I think I'd still find a way to get pretty fit and stay in pretty good shape and even PB in races. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I was told me use those 2. Yeah.
Agreed. Next question. Raghu Harian asks, cool down miles. Do I have to do them right after the workout, or can I do them later in the day? Now, cool down miles is something that people have just made up the term. There's that's you don't have to do cool down miles. I think doing a cool down, especially after a very hard session where your lactate levels are rising, is pretty important. Stabilize, just make sure you're cooling down. But in general, cool down miles and extending them is just adding extra volume, aerobic volume. So you've already answered your question. Or can you do them later in the day? In my opinion, absolutely you can. You do not have to do a long cool down. I don't typically do long cool downs. My cool downs are usually 10 minutes, 2K. In marathon training, when I'm trying to add more volume, I might do more, but I will normally do more easy running in the afternoon. But it doesn't really matter that much, I don't think. I think as long as you're doing the volume that you want to do in the week and in the day that you plan, then that's fine. But the term cool down miles is just a made up term, and you don't have to necessarily extend your cool down to be very long. What do you think, Luke?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. And I think you just have to get literal with it. Like, if you're actually using the term cool down miles, then yes, you do have to do it after the run because you're cooling down. You've ripped, like if I ripped a really hard workout in the heat, like smashed a whole bunch of fast miles and 400s, then it really is smart for me to jog a little bit and actually cool down and bring the lactate down and get the trash out of my legs. And you do that, it should be short. It should be short. Versus what you said, when I do a long run and I finished all the hard work and I'm only at 18 miles, but I want 22 miles. So I cool down for 4 miles. That's not a cool down, you know?
Hmm.
That's me adding on miles, just what you said.
Yeah.
Uh, just to get my mileage in. That's no longer a cool down. Sometimes it gets pretty hard, you know? If your cooldown's getting hard, that's not a cooldown. Yeah. And so that's exactly right. Like if you're wanting to do what I said at the end of my long run, yeah, of course, you can do that mileage later, but I don't want to do it later, so that's why I'll do it longer. But if you're doing like yeah, literally you smash a workout, legs are trashed, it is smart to cool down for 10, 15 minutes, jogging around, nice and easy, feel good. Yeah, makes sense.
Hmm. Dave the runner. I ran with Dave the runner this morning. Dave Stoff, thanks for the message. He asked, would you consider, this is directed at me, would you consider signing up for a race this year for a bit of fun and scratch the itch? Yeah, look, so I ran, we'll talk more about this in the second half of the
I have some
podcast.
opinions on this after you give yours as well.
So I've returned back to fitness probably a little faster than I thought, honestly, because I ran a 16:28 5K on the weekend on a course that's not very fast, and I didn't really empty the tank. I didn't pace it very well. I went out a little bit too slow. That's just because I thought I couldn't break. I thought I'd only break 7, 8 minutes. And I think coming off that race, I could potentially run in the 15s for 5K in a field on a track where there's not all these U-turns that I had to do on the weekend. That's after 6 weeks of training, essentially. So after 4.5 months of being stagnant. And it has got me wondering maybe if I should. I think the challenge will be for me is, which race will it be? Will it be a half? Will it be a full? There's Valencia on at the end of the year. There's a couple more in December. I still am not over my fear of doing marathon training in the heat. But then again, in on the Gold on the Gold Coast, it won't be too warm in November, December. Yeah, we'll see. It's possible I'll run a 10K or a half. I don't think I'll run a full by the end of the year, but I think that will come next year, but we will see. What's your opinion, Luke?
Yeah. So when I read this, my opinion would be so exactly what you're saying. You're coming into fitness like so fast, which doesn't surprise me. Like I said, like I've been saying this for forever, like you're gonna get fit like really fast again. And that's obviously what's happening. But I think it's smart. And the reason you're getting so fit so fast is because you're not giving in to kind of obviously this is coming from a guy who's a fan of yours and like he's happy, really happy you're getting fit and just wants to like see you smash it again. And the reason I think you're getting so fit so fast is because you're kind of not giving into that mindset. You're being patient, you're being calm, you're not doing crazy workouts and trying to cram a whole bunch of stuff in. You're taking your time, methodical about it, and you keep doing that. you'll keep getting fitter and fitter and fitter versus rushing it for a race. You know, if you put a race, like a serious race on the calendar, like I would just worry that it's on the calendar now, and so you have to rush things. And so if a workout doesn't go well in the lead up, that could be a mind fuck. And then, and I just think now is not the time for that. I think you get through the year, you keep doing what you're doing, you be patient, and then you see what's what in 2026. And then you take your time again, and then you pick out some smart races where the chances of you running fast and in the cold like is really high. And then I think that's the way to go. That would
Hmm.
be my opinion.
I plan on doing exactly what you say. I mean, I've said in this podcast before, I think my priority is to get down to, where I was in the 5K, which would be, I've never raced a 5K when I've been near my fittest, but I assume it's 14:30-ish, give or take 15 seconds. I think when I ran Chicago and Indy last year, I think I probably could have broken 14:30 for 5K if I'd run one. That's just based on a few things in training. Yeah, I think for the rest of the year, I think I'll just keep working on 5K, 10K. And yeah, might do a race. I think Dave's probably asking more about will I do a marathon? I think that's sort of what he means because
No, I think so too. Yeah,
yeah,
like that's what I mean, like a big serious race. Yeah.
yeah. Can't see it happening this year, but I think next year, without a doubt. Gold Coast, I'm pretty keen on in July, but whether I do one before that or not is I'm not sure about. Yeah. All right, Sammy Dontile, don't Sammy don't lie, sorry, all in one word, asks, this is a good question for both of us. What do you think your lifetime PR in the marathon will end up being? Tough one.
I know. It's a good question. I don't mean this bad by the person that asked, but I hate questions like that.
Yeah,
Because then it's
it's
like,
people hold you to it
what
and
do
then
you,
take the yeah.
yeah, what do you say to that? Do you tell them, no, look, you know what? I'll be honest. I will be honest. In my mind, I do think like the way training's been going and the way it consistently goes when I'm smart and I'm not an idiot and I don't and I listen to all the advice that I just gave you when I don't push things when they shouldn't be pushed. Um, I think for me, for the marathon, I don't really care about anything else. For the
Neither. I don't
marathon,
either.
yeah. I don't care what my PB will be, lifetime PB in the half or the 10K. I really don't care. Um, for the marathon, I definitely think I can get sub 220, and I think I could even chop a minute or two even off that.
I
And
agree.
then beyond that, I have no idea. But I think that's realistic. I really do think that's realistic. Yeah. And then
I've
beyond
said
that, I
it.
really don't.
I've said it already. Based on training data of this training block, when you put your paces into heat conversion calculators, it honestly seems like you're doing marathon effort blocks consistently and long ones, 6 miles at 5:25. That is 2:21 marathon pace. When you put them through heat training, converters, it's saying, 2:18, 2:19 is possible even now. So yeah, I don't doubt that at all. I honestly wouldn't be surprised. I would feel I wouldn't be very shocked at all. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on you publicly, but I am going to do that. But I wouldn't shock me at all if you ran 2:19 in Chicago. But with that said, you should obviously be stoked with anything under your best. But I
Yeah.
think based on training data, that wouldn't like if you can run 2:25, if you can run 5:25 mile pace in long extended efforts in the heat you're dealing with, that tells me put you into 50 degrees Fahrenheit and regular humidity, which Chicago regularly is. Hopefully it is this year. That's immediately 5:08s, which is which is like 2:16 marathon pace. Now, can you run 2:16? That seems like a stretch only because your PRs are 2:24 and 1:10. So that seems a stretch, but maybe it's not. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
I've said it a few times. I think my absolute limit, if I got everything right, got a great day, blah, 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 5 degrees Celsius, all the dream, maybe lost a couple more kilos based on what I was and, if you're new to the podcast, you might think that's a weird thing to say, but if you've been listening to me for years, you'd realize that I've noticed a strong correlation between my weight and my times. I think 2:15 is probably where my limit lies. And 38 now, probably don't have too many more years until until the age starts affecting me. I'll keep trying, but I think that's where my absolute limit lies. And I think I need to be 67 kilos. I was 69.0 when I ran 2:18. So I think another 5 pounds under that and hold basically being the same, fitness wise, I think I'd be able to run 2:15. So
What was the seconds? 2:18. What was the seconds again?
I ran 2:18.41
41.
in Indianapolis last year, and I still lost I probably, and this is part of the marathon. This is by no means an excuse, but I lost probably about 45 seconds with cramping in the final 5K. There was a bunch of times I had to slow right down to manage hamstring cramps, and then my calf completely locked up at about 40K and had to slow right down. But that's the marathon. Like at least 30% of people listening to this know that pain. That's just what you have to deal with. But yeah,
That's when you were running with Mitch and those guys, right?
ran with Mitch Evans through until about 18 miles, 17 miles. He kicked on for a 2:16.45, 40 something. So yeah, but we ran together as a pack for the first 17, 18 miles. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. JDel4 asks, our coach JDel, thanks for the question. Weight was a big topic prior to your absence. How has your diet been since, and where are you now? Great question. Firstly, before I answer, Luke, I just want to hear a little bit about, you've spoken about this 6, 7 weeks ago with people that weren't there at the time. What does your diet look like at the moment? And how do you think much about your body weight when it comes to racing? Are you weighing yourself often? Where's your head at with this before I answer mine? You've never
No,
been, yeah.
not often. I don't weigh myself often. And what was the first question? Does body weight, well, how did you phrase it?
He said weight was a big topic prior to your absence. How has your diet been since, and where are you now?
Yeah, yeah. No, I know that's directed towards you, but you asked me the question. I think you said, has weight been I think you said a factor in my racing?
Yeah, like I talk a lot
And
about how weight is a factor in
yeah,
my racing, and I notice it very clearly. If I gain 2 or 3 kilos based off my lowest point, which is
yeah,
69 kilos, I immediately start running 2:23, like 3 or 4 minutes
yeah.
slower. Yeah.
So for me, it's weird. It's like, so before Osaka, I was doing your method, that the Swedish kind of carb fasting, carb loading, and so for those really quick crash course for those listening that haven't heard, Matt um, experiments a lot with this leading into marathons, and I decided to do it too, and I think it's really helpful. Just Google like the Swedish carb depletion and carb loading. It's Dr. Oh my God, what's his name? You'll know the
Gunther.
name, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, something crazy Swedish. But essentially, it's, during your week, whatever week you're in, during your easy runs, you'll do like carb depletion, so really low carbs. I even did intermittent fasting, and then the night before, and then morning of, and then directly after the hard workout or the long run, you do carb loading, high carbs, high energy, lots of food, and then just do that for week after week, and and it's a good way to usually you'll find yourself trimming a bit of weight. And I know that happened to me before Osaka, and then I ran a lifetime PB. So obviously it helped, right? And I felt great. And then I did it a bit for Boston, had a great race again. But then in the summer, of course, that's changed. Um, I still do kind of the intermittent fasting, but not as much. Like I'll still do my easy runs that are still like 16 miles. Pretty much fasted. I'll have like a cup of tea before it, and that's it. And then won't eat until after it. And so that I like that. That helps me. And then still like loads of carbs and everything. But I've noticed that I'm eating more, obviously because it's hotter. I need the energy, so I'm just eating whenever I want. Um, a lot more carbs. And then the hit classes that I've talked about is obviously requiring a lot more energy too. So there's a lot more fuel going in because of that. And then as a result, I've noticed my muscle mass, and like other people that are close to me have even said this, my muscle mass is like way up. Like I'm like I have the most muscle on my body that I've had in years, like really long time.
Interesting.
Um, and as a result, my weight's gone up a bit, but I'm running. I feel like I'm way fitter now than in my Osaka build when I ran my lifetime PB. Like way fitter. And I honestly think a big part of it is I feel so strong. I feel really, really strong. And we'll talk about this on the Train and Talk Shareholders Club podcast. Like I did a 10K kind of time trial thingy. But it was like more like threshold effort. And like, you know, Mark and I dropped everyone and then Mark kicked on and then I caught Mark and kicked on like in the last 200 meters, like and kind of blew away from Mark. And I just felt so strong. Just that was the only word to describe it. Just so strong, not just fit. And I think a lot of that had to do, I don't know if it's in my head, but the muscle, I just feel when you have that. And so obviously like I'm heavier and more muscle. And so you would think slower, but it's not. So for me, like, yeah, I'm really not worried about the weight, obviously now because I am heavier, but feeling great. So yeah, I hope that answers that for me.
Looking forward to diving deeper into that on the other podcast. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Yeah, JDL. So diet has been a big deal, beforehand. I haven't focused on it really at all since I've been back. I've just been trying to get back into training. And to be honest, I haven't weighed myself, but I'm probably about 4 to 5. I can just tell by looking in the mirror, about 4 to 5 kilos heavier than I've been at my best, which is interesting given that I've been able to already get down to 16:28 5K on a slow course, blah, 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 or not a very fast course anyway. And so that tells me some people are triggered by this, but just by simply getting down to 69 kilos again, I'd probably be already at 15 low for 5K, I think, because yeah, my correlation is just so clear. When I get down to that 68, 69 kilos, or 69 kilos, should I say, I reckon I'm 73, 74 now. But to answer your question specifically, I haven't been focusing on it at all, but I will. I will very soon. I'll start to think more about getting back down to closer to 70 kilos. I should get some scales. I haven't had a fixed home since I've been back. I've been renting a short-term place. I just haven't had any scales here. But I can, yeah, like I said, I can just tell I'm basically the weight that I am when I just don't think about the the
Yeah.
the dieting at all. I tend to sit right around 73. So yeah, once I get a target race on the board, I'll think more about that. And I really enjoy the experimenting with the carb cycling and the diet. I think it's super interesting finding that balance between getting down to a
It's
good race
fun.
weight and actually, yeah, and trying to continue training very hard. It's not an easy thing to do, but a lot of people try and do it. And I think sharing the learnings that I have has been great, especially for the people that I coach. Yeah. We're already past the hour, so we'll get to these last two questions before we transition over to the other podcast. But Jen, who I've had on Instagram for a while, asked two really good questions. Have either of you had family or friends that have been critical or unsupportive of your decisions and habits around diet and training? If so, how did you handle or navigate that? This could refer to anything from trialing Ozempic or traveling home for holidays whilst in the midst of heavy marathon training and finding balance between family time and training, etc. Have you had anyone critical or unsupportive of your decisions, Luke?
No.
Yeah, neither.
No. Because it's just, yeah. I think if you're supportive of the people that are close to you, then they're going to be supportive of you. I feel like if you're running into that where someone close to you is unsupportive, then I do. This isn't really a running question. This is more like I feel like I'm in therapy or so, like or therapizing this person. But it's like, yeah. So if you're running into that, I just feel like maybe like, and I do mean this. Like, I don't mean this to be, to talking down to the person or because it is an important question. Like maybe have a look at like if you're over prioritizing these things to a point where, okay, say you said Jen, say this person is, their husband, just as the example, is not being super supportive. Maybe you would think like, okay, why? Why is he not being supportive? Is it because, you know, I'm sacking off a whole bunch of like we're supposed to go, we usually go on, Friday night dates, and I've sacked that off like 4 weeks in a row for an early night for my long run for, when it goes back to the very first question, you need to prioritize all the things that are important to you. And if you can't, then you need to make changes somewhere. And so if you're prioritizing your running so much that it's actually hurting other important people and things in your life, you do need to figure that out. Like it is important. Because I think the only way someone like that would be unsupportive if they truly did love you and care for you, it's probably because you're not supporting them because
Mm.
of your running and stuff. And if it's not that, then then you just need to get rid of that person in your life. Like if you're actually prioritizing them and everything's going great and they're still not being supportive, then that's a them problem, not you. So yeah, hope that answers that.
Yeah, good answer. No, I haven't had that, and I echo what you're saying. No one close to me had a go at me about Ozempic. In fact, they all thought it was very interesting. I think the only people that had a go at me about Ozempic were people that were misled by a whole lot of stuff online that was just that was just completely false information about it. Because when Ozempic came out, there was just so much false news reporting about it. Like, oh, muscle loss is, you lose all your muscle and stuff. No, it just does. It just makes you. It just reduces your appetite. Like if you if you, I've already been to this, I've been into this before. Like, if you stop eating anywhere near as much as you need and you don't take a lot of protein, yes, you will lose muscle. But of course, I wasn't doing that. I was quite careful with how much protein I was having, et cetera, et cetera. But away from the topic a bit, no one had a go at me about that. No one's had a go at me about traveling home for holidays whilst in the midst of marathon training. But yeah, I think I echo what you say. Jen also asks, and this is more for me, also curious if Australia differs much to America in terms of lifestyle and running culture. In brackets, healthy lifestyle, run groups, run events, good places to train, influencers, etc. And where, in your opinion, is the best place to run and train in both countries? Oof. I don't think the culture changes. It doesn't alter too much. It's pretty similar across the board. Lots of run groups here, you know, running events. I haven't been to a lot of running events in Australia. I went to Sydney Marathon. And it was, pretty much pretty similar to other majors. I can't really pinpoint any major differences between Australia and the US in terms of running culture. Where, in your opinion, is the best place to train and run in both countries? I think Melbourne is probably the best city to live and be a runner in Australia, mostly because the conditions there year round are great. In summer in Melbourne, the mornings are 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 10, 12 degrees Celsius. So it's great. And in the winter, if you're flexible with your job, you can train in the day and it's about the same, slightly more. So they've got conditions sort of all year that you can train in comfortably. I know Luke's just shaking his head, and I am too, because where I'm currently living,
Oh
we're about to
man.
go into summer. Yeah.
So
Melbourne's got a lot of really good places to run and train as well. With the environment wise, there's lots of good places to train in Australia. Sydney's got a lot of great spots as well. I haven't actually, strangely enough, I haven't been living in Australia for a very, very long time. So I don't know of any other sort of smaller areas to train. I've heard, Falls Creek is obviously a good place to go and train at altitude. In the US, I think Flagstaff is probably the best place to train if you are wanting to go.
still haven't been.
Yeah, you got to get there.
No, no. I was just about to say Boulder's got to be up there, but yeah, you've said to me a good few times, Flagstaff just kind of pips it, right?
Very similar. Boulder's awesome too. I just think Flagstaff's a little bit better in terms
Yeah,
of places for long runs. They've got great options in terms of flat, fast roads. There's A1 Loop, which is a very hilly, soft surface trail, which is really good. They got the good track there, which is open, I think every day, at least every time I've been there, it's been open. And there's loads of trail runs as well. But Boulder's really good as well. It's really hard to choose between the two. Yeah. But
yeah.
US has loads of good places to train.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does. Yeah, it's pretty sick.
To finish up, where do you think your favorite place to train or run in the world is? If you had to go somewhere for a week for a training camp, doesn't have to be at altitude. Where's your favorite?
Yeah. Oh my
You,
God,
you
damn.
had a good time
Put me
back
on the
home in
spot
Ireland
now.
last year in Christmas.
Oh man, that was unbelievable. That was
Yeah.
so good. Really was. But Ireland, Ireland would lose because of the weather. I got very lucky with the weather, but that's uncommon. Like it rains a lot. I hate running in the rain. Like it didn't rain really at all when I was there over Christmas, which is weird. So I got very lucky. So the rain would just completely remove it from that. Um, Man, Boulder was unbelievable.
Hmm.
Boulder really was unbelievable. And it's just, you know what's so good about it and why I hate Houston for running? It's just how pedestrian friendly it is. There's bike lanes and pedestrian lanes just absolutely everywhere. So no matter where you want to go on your run, you'll find somewhere. Even if you don't want to go to the popular routes, which there are loads, you'll pop off onto a road and everyone's respectful. Like it's just a different world. So that was unbelievable. You know what I really like as well, whenever I go back, and this is going to be a weird one for people. Um, Sorry, two places. But the first place that came to mind, New York. I love running around New York.
It is a good city to run.
Like, yeah, like when you go on those cycle paths, like along the rivers, you can get a good long run in. There's tracks around that you can get onto, no problem. You can go up, you can go around the city, and the fact that it is such a busy city and there are so many people, like cars actually don't really care all that much when you're running around. I know that sounds weird. It sounds like like they really don't care, like when you're flying around the roads. Um, yeah, I love training in New York,
Hmm.
and the weather's usually pretty good as well. Yeah.
I think New Yorkers would question that. It's pretty warm in the summer and pretty cold in the winter, but across the board,
Ah,
yeah, I think
see,
it's
yeah, that yeah. I ripped a long run in when was I there? July.
I
Yeah, I
think
think I
so.
was there in July. Ripped the long run there, and it was so funny. There was like New Yorkers everywhere. It was so busy, just dying, and I was just flying. Like I was just like, this is amazing. This is so much cooler than Houston. Like there's no humidity at all. Like, and everyone else was just falling apart, dying because it was like 70s and like 60% humidity. I was like, oh no, this is glorious.
That's cold to you. Thanks, Jen, for your questions, and thanks everyone for your questions. We've got a fair few more to cover in a future episode, probably next week. We've been going for almost 75 minutes, which is much longer than normal. So we'll transition over to the second half of the podcast, which is about 30 minutes long. Luke and I go through our training weeks, talk all about what we're doing, what our goals are, what we've done through the week. We go through every day of training. If you'd like to join us over there, it's a supporters club. It's $10 a month or $99 a year. You can join a Discord channel too, where you can ask us any questions about training. You can discuss with others as well. And yeah, thank you all for listening in. If you'd like to join us in the second half of this podcast, you can head over to sweatelite.co/shareholders. That link is in the description of this podcast to take you straight there. We really appreciate all of you that have signed up. And if you're just staying on this free podcast, thank you for joining, and we'll speak to you next week.